Hi everyone, I'm Bill Burke with BurkeLord Real Estate, and I am here today in my hometown of Chester, New Hampshire. And today we're going to bring you a little bit of information and some history on the town of Chester. And to help me with that, I would like to introduce one of the historians, Miss Jackie Brown.
Hi, I'm Jackie Brown, one of the historians for Chester, New Hampshire. How did Chester retain its quaintness in this small little town? Well, if you think about it, all the towns that touch Chester, Hampstead, Derry, Raymond, and Sandown, all had railroads coming into their towns to bring people and to bring industry. Chester was high on a hill and did not have any railroads come here. It's so high on the hill that from 2 points in Chester, you can actually see the ocean. Behind me is the home that is called the Clockery. It's called the Clockery because Isaac Blaisdell was a famous clockmaker that lived here in the 1700s. In the late 1800s, Elsie Vanderbilt bought this home. She was married to Albert Vanderbilt, which died on the Lusitania. He lived in New York and owned the breakers in Newport, Rhode Island. Their son was the governor of Rhode Island. And across the street in this cape, Benjamin Brown French was born in 1800. He was the commissioner of all the public buildings in Washington, D.C. He was President Lincoln's confidant. He saw Lincoln on a daily basis. He stood beside Lincoln at the Gettysburg Address. They sang one of his poems at the Gettysburg Address. His name is actually inscribed on the dome of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Benjamin Brown French married Elizabeth Richardson. Elizabeth Richardson lived in the next house, which is called the Richardson House. It was owned by her father, Chief Justice Richardson. Next is the Dexter French House. Lord Timothy Dexter from Newburyport, a very eccentric man, owned this house. After that, Amos Tuck French owned the house. Amos Tuck French was a famous banker from New York. He was actually the grandson of Amos Tuck from Exeter, New Hampshire, that started the Republican Party. Across the street is a cellar hole. It was the grandest house in Chester. It was a 3-story. Unfortunately, it's burned down. It was owned by Daniel French. Daniel French's grandson came every summer to summer here in Chester. He didn't have a middle name, so he took Chester as his middle name. He sculpted the Lincoln Memorial. Chester also had a first lady. Franklin Pierce was the only president from the state of New Hampshire. The Pierces saw their child killed by a train that came off of a railroad track. Mrs. Pierce was so beside herself that she could not go to the White House to assume her position. So her aunt, Abigail Kent from Chester on Chester Street, lived at where the Kent House is now, which is a B&B, and she went and was the first lady. The next house is Bittersweet Blessings. Bittersweet Blessings is a wonderful gift shop. John Bell, our beloved governor, lived in this home. His portrait still hangs in the State House. Beyond that is the center of town. In the center of town, we have 3 National Historic Registry sites. The first being the original meeting house, which was built in 1773. Across the street is Stevens Memorial Hall, built in 1910. It also is on the National Historic Registry. And across the street from both of those is the Village Cemetery, also on the National Historic Registry, because it holds 2 governors, 2 senators, and it has the infamous carvers, the Webster brothers, and has a whole section of Revolutionary War heroes. Chester's rich history is not only here on Chester Street, it's throughout the town. On Derry Road is the famous Dunlap furniture makers their family bought in Chester. On Haverhill Road is Moses Tewksbury, a very famous viola maker. His violas are in museums across the country, and there's one in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. And we also had a famous actress, Tammy Grimes. She is buried in Chester also. I once asked Richard Holmes, the writer of our historic book, why is it that Chester has so many famous people and so much rich history? You know what he said? I don't know.